What's up, YouTube? Now, you see the title of this video, and you see the image that I have on the screen here. Now, I wasn't gonna make this video. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I was not going to make this video. You see the title. You see who I have added. Now, if you don't know who this is, this guy by the name of Chronicles. This guy right here is one of the prime examples that I've made on this channel when I talk about, you know, the white male cope that a lot of these dudes engage in. You know, the cope, the need to try to feel superior than others and diminish other groups, mainly blacks, right? So-called blacks. And this guy, like I said, I was not going to make this video. I had planned on going over some of this dude's shit some weeks ago. I was going to review one of his goofy videos he had made that I saw. Because how I even found this channel, right? You know, I'm scrolling through YouTube as usual, looking for a video to watch. And I saw one of this guy's videos. And it was something about, you know, the we was king stuff when it comes to black people, right? And I'm gonna, after I explain this, I'm gonna get into why I even decided to make this video. Because like I said, at first I wasn't. But what I saw, what I came across today, I was like, you know, let me explain the psychology, right? The pathology behind this. But how I initially found this channel was I'm scrolling through YouTube. I see this guy's shit. And it's some We Was Kangs video, you know, that We Was Kangs meme. A lot of you guys, for those of you that know what that is, you know, the We Was Kangs meme about black people, you know, oh, these blacks are trying to claim civilizations and all this stuff. I'm going to get into more of that later. But, you know, he made some We Was Kangs video trying to mock black people, trying to basically say that, you know, he's going through certain things that he claims that black people are claiming. And he's saying, yeah, you know, they're claiming they built this. They claiming they built that. They didn't build this, you know, or, you know, they claiming Egypt. They didn't build Egypt. And it's like, that was the funniest thing about the video when I saw it, that was really going to make me do a video on that video. And I was going to basically review it and debunk the bullshit, you know, because he's trying to basically say the Egyptians were not, quote unquote, black. Just preposterous. This is just, they lie all day. This is what they do. This is what these white nationalists do. And this dude, Chronicles, is no different, right? But that's what he was doing. He was trying to basically say, you know, oh, they're not the Egyptians, they're not this and not that, going through all types of things, and trying to basically say, yeah, they didn't build this, they didn't build that, regardless if it was something that was true or not. He's just going through everything and saying it's all lies. Any civilization that the blacks, quote unquote, are saying they built, or even if you can debunk the shit easily with a Google search, this is what they do, they lie. And he's like, oh, they didn't build nothing. They didn't build nothing. So, you know, he's lying about Egypt. And that was the main one of that video that I was going to really look at. Like, oh, this Egypt shit. He's trying to say that the Egyptians were not I would say, quote unquote, black people, right? I'll get into later why I'm saying quote unquote, but you know, he's trying to debunk that. And the video was funny. I'm looking at it. I was laughing, bro. Like, it had me in tears laughing, bro. Because I'm listening to it, and I know what this shit is. Like, I've analyzed this behavior, the psychology of these individuals. I know what it is with these dudes. So I'm laughing at the white male cope. I'm laughing at the need to diminish this another group. I'm laughing at it, bro. And I was going to review the video and debunk it, but I was like, you know what? I'm not wasting my time on this dumbass shit. I was like, bro, I'm not wasting my time. I got shit to do. You know, I got other videos to make that's more important. I got work to do. You know what I'm saying? I don't got time to waste making this goofy ass video. So I wasn't going to make it. And I didn't, right? But today, What caused me to make this video where I'm going to break down the psychology completely of why these dudes do this is, I'm scrolling through YouTube again, right? I was about to whip out my computer, look at the stock market and shit, and just do a bunch of shit that I need to take care of. A lot of times I like to have a video playing in the background, watch some content, just have it in the background, right? While I'm doing work or whatever I'm doing. I'll have it playing in the background. Or I'll listen to some music or some shit, and I'll just whatever. I'll have music playing in the background from YouTube or some shit. And I'm scrolling looking for a video. I was like, I'm gonna watch a video. I'm scrolling and I see this dude. They suggest me a video from him. When you watch one video on YouTube, then after that, the algorithm, of course, is going to give you more of that content. So obviously, since I watched one of his videos, it's going to recommend me more of his shit. That's just how the algorithm works. Cool. And it's recommending me some of his shit before, and I just keep scrolling like it's more white male coat, more dumb shit. Go through this dude's channel, bro. It's crazy. It's hilarious the shit this dude makes. Like, the titles, bro. I do not watch none of this dumbass shit. I literally only watched that one video I saw about the Egypt shit where that had me laughing. But it suggests me shit. I look at the title, I look at the thumbnail, and I just laugh and keep scrolling. He has some crazy ass fucking goofiness that is implied from the title. If you just look at some of the titles, like, yeah, this dude is this shit is hilarious. He doesn't know anything about the Nazis or anything. He's praising the mustache man. He doesn't know shit about the truth about that. He's a complete clown. But he believes the narrative that is pushed in the historical record currently. But or at least I would say how they want to push it. Oh, the mustache man was a good guy and all that. Like there's more to the mustache man and a lot of that shit. That's a whole deeper thing. But he's running around with that whole dumbass Aryan race bullshit and all that fake shit. And that's what he kind of like, he's a white nationalist. Look at his channel. He's a white nationalist. So you go through his channel, it's just completely hilarious, bro. The thumbnails, the titles. So I see some of his shit every now and then. I'm scrolling. I'm like, this dude's a clown. But today, bro, I'm scrolling, bro, and I see we was civilizations and all this dumb shit. Just more of the we was Kang shit. And every now and then he makes a we was Kang's video trying to mock black people, and I keep scrolling. But for some reason today, bruh, I'm just looking at the fucking thumbnail. I'm reading the title. And what I'm saying? I'm just like, bruh, this dude, how many videos is this guy gonna make about we was Kangs and, the blacks claiming civilizations? How many videos is this clown gonna make trying to, quote unquote, debunk black historical achievement? And it was something that I'm looking at, and I'm like, I've seen these goofy thumbnails before when I scroll through and it suggests me shit and I keep scrolling. But today I was like, something came over me. I'm like, bruh, I gotta just break down the pathology behind this, bro. Because I've touched on it before, but I've never done a complete in-depth breakdown. So, I'm looking at the shit and I'm like, let me go ahead and make a video, bro. Fuck it. Let me close my computer, I made me a thumbnail first before I did that, right? That's the image on the screen. I took it from one of his fucking thumbnails. I just remade it into, some funnier shit. But, I'm like, let me go ahead and make this shit real quick. And then let me go ahead and close this computer and let me make this video, and I'll get back to this shit later. I'm good. I'll get back to this in a minute, what I gotta do. Let me break this shit down, right? So, what you have to understand about these types of individuals, Subterranean Chronicles and others of his ilk, is, like I said, his channel, you go through it, he's a whole white nationalist, bro. He's one of them. He's one of the, we were civilization builders and shit. The white man is God. We built everything. We built the world. He's one of them. He's one of those guys. So we're dealing with an extremely delusional individual and historically just ignorant clown. Just fan fiction, bro, basically. Like, this is the Marvel universe, but for white supremacy. So, that's what his channel is. That's what his shit is, bro. It's just clown shit. He doesn't have anything to actually back it up evidence-wise. It's just this made-up, metaphysical dumb shit that has no backing, nothing. Just complete made-up shit by people who are white nationalists in fucking in the historical record who are just writing down, yeah, we the best. Okay, yeah, cool. Of course, the one in power is going to say we're the greatest of all time. No shit. Like, if I write a book about myself and I'm trying to push propaganda, I'm going to say, yeah, I'm the greatest. I'm going to lie. And yeah, of course. So you got dudes that he'll show, like in the video I saw, the one video I saw, you know, it's this shit where we're just showing shit from whole white nationalists and the shit that they're recording. Like this is okay, cool. Yeah, that great evidence, bro. But this is the shit they do. So this dude's a whole white nationalist. His channel, that's all it is. And the thing about these types of individuals is that the thing with the whole We Was Kangs thing, getting into that, right? Because let me get into that for those who don't know what that meme is about. The We Was Kangs meme is basically a meme made by these white nationalists. I think it was created on 4chan. And basically, it's a thing where these white nationalists, they say that, oh, you know, these blacks are claiming other civilizations that they didn't build. You know, they're claiming that they used to be kings and they used to be great. And yeah, we was kings, you know, basically a mockery. Like, you know, basically, oh, they're claiming they used to be kings and queens and they claim they used to make civilizations and we was kings. So that's what they're doing, right? And it's a mockery, basically saying these blacks are claiming things that they did not do. Okay. But see, here's the problem with this fucking goofy meme is that it's not really about blacks claiming shit that they didn't do, right? Because like I said, these individuals are suffering from what I call white male cope. You know, I saw, you know, that term somewhere before, and I was like, yeah, that's what this shit is. This is white male cope. So what is going on with these individuals is it's not about blacks claiming civilizations they didn't build. It's about blacks claiming civilizations at all. And what I mean by that is the We Was Kangs meme is really about, oh, they're claiming civilization entirely. That's what it really is. So if black people are claiming a civilization that it's historically accurate that this is a black civilization, they will say we was kings. They will say no, because according to Chronicles and others of his ilk, the blacks never built a civilization. You have to understand, these are, according to them, sub-Saharan African niggers that have low IQs that have never built anything. And let him tell it, right? And I've made this little funny, scenario before. Let them tell it. The blacks were crawling around on their stomachs in sub-Saharan Africa. You know what I'm saying? Crawling around, making grunting noises and making donkey noises and all different types of animal noises. You know what I'm saying? Crawling around on their stomachs, chucking spears and living in clay huts. And, out of nowhere, the white man descended from a cloud and bestowed civilization upon the inferior, low IQ, sub-Saharan African niggers. That is unironically his rendition of history, bro. This is not no hyperbole, bro. This is literally what these niggas believe. Let them tell it. That is the historical record. The blacks never built anything. They're just like these primitive beasts that never created nothing, and they just don't know how to sustain themselves, even though they claim the whites went into Africa and they were like there just not doing anything. They couldn't sustain themselves. Like, I mean, then how were they existing for thousands of years? But, this is, like I said, it's not supposed to make sense. None of this is supposed to make sense. It's white male code, right? We're just going to lie and just rewrite the historical record. So that is their historical rendition of history. That's how they view the historical record. And that, we was Vikings and shit. We built the world and shit. We civilization builders and shit. And they built everything, right? They built everything. And, the blacks never built a civilization. So the We Was Kangs thing is really like, oh, this is them saying, anytime black people claim anything, regardless if it's factual or not, it's We Was Kangs. And the reason that these guys do this, the reason that Chronicles and others of his ilk do this dumb shit, constantly making these goofy videos, we was civilized like that. Literally, the video I saw, like I said, is titled "We Was Civilizations," and talking about delusion, like the blacks are the ones that are delusional, the quote unquote blacks are the delusional ones, when he's the delusional one. All they do is project, right? But the reason they do this shit, I've analyzed this shit. I think I figured this shit out. The reason these clowns do this shit is because they suffer from immense inferiority complex. Now, of course, they're never going to admit this. They're never going to come out and say this. But deep down in dudes like this, they suffer from immense inferiority complex. And the whole white supremacist bullshit they push is the irony is, it is literally the complete opposite. It is white inferiority. Because what they're doing is, because a lot of these guys, like I said, suffer from inferiority, they feel the need to try to, because of the current time in history, and that the so-called white man, who is Edom, controls the world, right? It's undeniable. White people control the earth. He's one of these guys, he does the JQ shit with the Jews. The Jews are white. That, like, I still got to make my Jewish smokescreen video. I will get to that. But the Jews are white. I mean, this is just a fact, bro. Like, they are white. And, there's a reason they don't really want them to do DNA tests over there. Because, you would find out the truth, potentially. But anyway, they're white. So even if we want to say, the Jews, they're white. But the Jews aren't even the ones who are at the top of the totem pole. That's the funny thing. They're not. I've already gone over who that is. In my very last video, actually, that was a very prolific breakdown I did on some more deeper shit. But, the ones who control the system, they are white. The controllers of this planet are white. They control and I do mean the entire planet. I don't care about no Japan, Chinese. They all are beholden to Esau. Esau can go in there and say, "Hey, get this done, do this," and they gonna move. They getting bitched. All right, this is just the reality. The white man controls the planet. He's the dominant on the planet right now. He controls the media in every country. You tell, "Hey, Japan, put this on y'all media. Chinese, put this on y'all media. Hey, Africa, hey, Hamites, put this shit on y'all media. Hey, South America, all them over there, hey, put this shit on y'all media." Like that's how they control everything. It literally, it's not even an exaggeration. They control everything. So the ones who control this planet are white. But see, here's the thing: the elite whites who control this world, there is of course, a distinction between the elite whites and the lesser whites, as they would call them. Like people like Celtanian Chronicles, he's a lesser white, and because he understands, like everybody understands, this is found out very quickly when kids are very young, what's going on this planet. This is very understood. The children understand this once they see everything around them and understand everything and all the programming. The white people control this planet. So understanding this obvious and clear fact, Celtanian Chronicles people like him latch on to the notion of white superiority, right? Because they control the planet in this current time in history. And because of the white supremacist push and all of the propaganda that has been pushed, guys like this, like I said, with their inferiority complex, because he is a part of the group that control the planet in terms of the nation, right, that he's a part of, Edom, who control this planet, his inferiority complex puts him in a state where, okay, he has this inferiority complex about himself, and this is why they do this we was Viking shit and say they built the world and shit. They're civilization builders. The reason they do this shit is because, like I said, the inferiority complex. So the conundrum is, okay, white people control the planet. So what he can do, being a so-called white man, is latch on to the historical, achievements and control of this current planet by the so-called white man Edom, by saying, okay, look at what my ancestors have done. Look, we control the world. We the best. We build everything. And they can look at the current domination of the planet by Esau and say, hey, look at what we done. He may have his inferiority complex, but in order to help him cope with that inferiority complex, he latches on to the current reality of this planet, the history of Esau controlling the earth in this current time. And what he does is he latches on to that, being a lesser white, and he puts himself in that category. Oh, we built this, we the best, we get high IQs. But the only problem is you're not part of them. You're a fucking peasant. And see, this is the problem with these individuals, is that the elite whites who control shit, they're the ones that are actually at the helm doing this shit, getting the the knowledge that they get, on a deeper level. I'm not gonna get too far into this, but the knowledge they get from, the so-called fallen angels, these higher entities, and the technology that they have created and gotten from these entities, and all of the historical shit that has been, skewed, the lies on history, extrapolate all that shit together. Guys like this can latch on to the historical achievements of Esau, the so-called white man, and he can say, oh, well, look at the achievements of my ancestors, right? Look at this. And that can help him cope, because he can say, oh, look, we're better than those blacks, right? He has an inferiority complex they'll never admit. And they have an inferiority complex, and they have this issue with black people, this inferiority complex, whatever it is. And in order to feel better about himself, he can latch on to the achievements of the elite whites, and he can say, hey, look, these blacks are less than, right? Look at what we have done. These blacks have never built anything, right? He can just lie and distort history. Regardless of, since they control the narrative, they can lie on anything. At least when it comes to the elites at the top. But even then, they put the history out there. It's a part of their occult magic. The history is out there. It's just guys like this can lie and just blatantly lie. This is the echo chamber they exist in. And they can say, hey, they're inferior. They're low IQ. They're sub-Saharan African low IQ niggers. They never built anything. They didn't have a wheel. They didn't have a writing system. All these lies. And he can say, hey, look, we the best. We built everything. We built the world. We civilization builders and shit. And that's how he can cope. He can grandstand on the so-called blacks and say that he is better than them inherently. And basically, that allows him to cope, right? Oh, I'm better. I'm superior. I'm of higher intellect. I'm better in every way. And they're inferior. They're lower than me. Everything about them, they're lesser than. And this is how he can grandstand over the blacks to feel better about himself. People like Sultanian Chronicles and others like him. This is how they do this. You notice, dudes like this, they don't lie on the history of Asians, so-called Asians who are Japheth, right? They don't lie on the history of Arabs who are Ishmael. That's the real nation, historically. They don't run around and lie on... Now, the funny thing is, here's the thing. The reason I say quote-unquote blacks, the reason I've been saying that is because the thing with this whole created race shit is that we have genealogies that are just fucked up, and we're basing race or so-called race on things that aren't necessarily denotes that, right? So, for example, right, black Americans specifically are by and large descendants of the lost tribes of Israel, right? Now, dudes like this would say, "Oh, that's we was kings and all that." This is we got the history. The cat's out the bag, right? You even have rabbis who will come out, come out and on the low, y'all descendants of the ancient Israelites. Yes, you're descendants of the ancient Israelites. With that little, the little. I don't want to get too far into what could be seen as anti-Semitic. You know how they be doing. Rubbing their hands. Yes, you're descendants of the ancient Israelites. Yes, but they just, they'll come out every now and then and drop a gem and then, scurry off into the fucking, into the darkness, right? But the cat's out the bag. So when it comes to the lost tribes of Israel, black Americans are of that. They are of the lost tribes of Israel, right? Now, the thing with this made up race shit is there is a distinction between the Shemitic blacks and the Hamitic blacks, or even Japhetic blacks. But when it comes to Japheth, there's a lot of stuff behind that, right? I said the Japhites are Asian. That's a whole nother topic. There's a lot of history that I would have to do if I were to do a video on that. But understand, right? There's a difference. So the Shemitic blacks and the Hamitic blacks, right? The Africans, right? When you look at the Africans, they are by and large of the descendants of Ham, right? And when it comes to like Black Americans, right, they're of Shem. And dudes like Subterranean Chronicles, they just lump all quote unquote black people in the same boat. So what happens is when we're doing shit like we're saying the ancient Egyptians were not quote unquote black, the ancient Egyptians are of Hamitic descent. They are Hamites. They are African Hamitic peoples. Now, the funny thing is, if we want to make the case, oh, the Egyptians were not black and we're looking at Black Americans, you could say that because they are of Shem. But here's the thing, like I said, they lump all this shit together. They lump all quote unquote blacks together because they don't know. This dude doesn't know shit. So when we're looking at it, how they view it is, oh, the blacks are not, the Egyptians are not black, right? So if we go with how they viewing shit and we just stay within that realm, like I said, the Egyptians are of Hamitic descent. They were black, right? The current people in that region today are Ishmaelite invaders that came later. Right? This is what it is. So the so-called Africans are Hamites, right? And dudes like this, like I said, they lump them all together. They lump all so-called black people together, and they make this entire fucking thing of these blacks, like I said, are in Africa. They never built anything. They never built a civilization. They didn't have the wheel, all this shit. And this is how dudes like this cope. And the funny thing about this shit, the funniest thing to me about this shit is that when these dudes do this shit, right? When you see a guy like this make a video with this wee wuzzery and trying to mock so-called black people and trying to distort the historical record and trying to say these blacks never built a civilization and they're just low IQ. The funny thing about it is, you make a video saying we was kangs and mocking the blacks and saying they never built anything and they're inferior. This is what you believe. But then it's like, okay, why are you making a video? Why are you going through the effort to try to debunk, quote unquote, black historical achievement and advancement? Because when you really look at it, if these people are inferior, as you believe, what is the need to try to debunk anything they're saying? See, this is the funniest thing about it, and this is why I'm saying this is all white male cope, because they have to try to just be like, yeah, they gotta stamp that shit in. Y'all is inferior. So we was kangs, the meme, the constant need to diminish the blacks. It's like you go through all this effort to make a video to say they never built a civilization. You go through all the effort to make the video, to edit the video, to make the thumbnail, do all this shit. All this time out of your day. You're supposed to be a superior being, but you are stooping low to, give your opinion on the lack of historical achievement of an inferior group. And they're running around claiming to have created things that they didn't create according to him. And he feels the need to do all this content, all these videos, editing, all this to debunk, quote unquote, this shit. For what reason? I don't know. I don't see why you would need to. Well, I already explained the reason, but in the confines of the logic of how they believe, or the things they believe, you would think if you're saying you're superior, why are you worried about what an inferior organism believes? Why do you care if they're doing we was Kang shit? Why does that matter? Why do you care what they believe, the history they're pushing? Why do you care? Why do you care? If they're inferior, what does it matter that they're claiming shit they didn't do? Like, it doesn't make sense. But when you understand, like I said, the pathology behind this, the psychology behind this is that they need to grandstand. They need to feel better than the blacks. It's the inferiority complex dudes like this have. So they have to do this. You have to understand they have to continue screaming through the megaphone at the highest hills, the highest mountains, that the blacks are inferior in their sub-Saharan low IQ African niggers. They have to keep this narrative going. Yo, these motherfuckers, bro. I had to do this. I'm doing this video on my car, so people is wilding right now, driving and shit. But anyway, they have to do this, right? They have to do this because it's how they cope. You have to understand, this is how individuals like this cope. They need this constant reassurance that we the best. They constantly need to do this shit because they're at a constant battle with their self-worth, self-confidence. They have an inferiority complex. They have to constantly try to reassure themselves that they're better than the so-called low IQ blacks. You know, this is like, it's like a drug. The white supremacy shit, the white national shit, this is like a drug for them. This is how they feel better than the blacks. This is how they can continue to feel better about themselves, is to continue to do this shit. They have to continue to re-inject, dosages of that shit. It's like a fucking heroin addict. You keep doing this shit, you gotta up the doses, man. You gotta up the dosage. You have to up the fucking dosages, bro. You have to up that shit continuously upping the goddamn, amount that you are injecting, because you have to keep, that high, that we the best. You have to keep it. If dudes like this, Sultanian Chronicles, if dudes like this are not able to run around and continue this historically inaccurate nonsense and say we built the world and all this, without that type of dumb shit, dudes like this would self-delete, bro. I'm telling you right now. I've said this before in past videos. Dudes like this, you would see, you would see dudes like this in a fucking Walmart parking lot at 3 o'clock in the morning with a goddamn, a goddamn fucking, a 9mm, round just through his dome, bro. Real shit. Like, real shit. You would see him just in the car slumped. People would find out, like, oh shit, is that dude, is he? Yeah, he's gone. Because without this narrative that we the best, without this constant white male cope, they cannot exist with themselves, bro. This is why they do this shit. They have to cope. There's something within the psyche of these dudes, bro. They have an inferiority complex, and they need to feel better. They need to grandstand. They need to be like, I'm better. I'm the best. And this is how they can't live without that. They have to diminish other groups, specifically black people. Let's be real. They have to diminish the so-called blacks to feel better about themselves. If they can't do that, I'm telling you, they would self-delete in mass numbers, bro. So, in a way, this is like therapy for him. To make these goofy videos, we were civilizations, and mocking black. This is a way to cope. This is a way to prevent himself from self-deletion. And that's the real, this is the real hardcore truth to this shit, bro. That's the psychology behind this shit, bro. They need to feel better about themselves. They need to feel better than the blacks. They can't exist without it. They cannot exist without that shot of that drug, bro. And it's just hilarious how they sit up, they lie, they ignore history. This is what they do. With the advent of AI, right? And how AI, right? And it's not even even before, this shit's been debunked. We've debunked all this dumb shit. A simple Google search debunks all this dumb shit. We can find the historical record. But see, here's the thing. The echo chamber and just the way that they just concoct these new ways to just try to debunk shit, this is what they do. They, with the advent of AI, bro, it's even more difficult for them to do this shit, bro. Because with AI, bro, you can instantly just debunk this shit in seconds, bro. All the shit they be pushing, this dumbass shit, you can debunk it within seconds with AI, bro. It's gotten to the point to where AI, actually, you can just go in there and get an entire fucking list breakdown. An entire list, an entire breakdown of some historical shit pertaining to black civilizations. AI will run that shit down in paragraph after paragraph. It will show you the sources it got it from. Bro, it's to the point to where it's damn near impossible for them to really continue doing this shit. But the only reason they can keep doing this and making these videos is because it's the echo chamber, right? You're never going to see Sultanian Chronicles go up against a historian, white or black, that has the historical record, that has the proof, debunking their nonsense. You're never going to see him sitting at Cambridge, yeah, man, the blacks never built a civilization. And you got a white man with glasses on looking at him like, bruh, what are you talking about? I'm a historian, bro. I got the record. You're never going to see him do that because they can't contend with them. Even if they run into someone who has the record that's white, they'll just say, oh, he's a Jew. That's what they do, bro. If they disagree with him and they're white, they become a Jew, right? Like I said, he's one of these white nationalist guys, right? So this is, it's becoming harder to do this shit. It's becoming harder to make these goofy videos and continue up this dumb shit. It's to the point to where it's just an echo chamber of dudes who are suffering from white male cope, and this is their therapy, man. It's their therapy session, right? It's like a fucking alcohol anonymous group, bro. They're just there like, yeah, we better than the blacks. Yeah, we built the world. That's what this shit is at this point. And it's really fucking hilarious to see. But at the same time, it's like, bro, like, I analyze the shit. I see what it is, but I'm always perplexed still. It always gets me, man, when I see a thumbnail like this or I see some goofy ass shit like this. And I'm just like, bro, like, y'all really this down bad, bro? Like, real shit. You're really this down bad within yourself that you have to constantly diminish another group to feel better about yourself. This is where you're at in your life. It's really sad. It's really sad. And it's like, their stuff's so easily debunked. The whether it's from the civilizations to the low IQ stuff they push, to anything they're pushing is so easily debunked. And what's the funniest thing to me is, like, a guy like this will say, we the best, we built the world, we so superior. But he's a white nationalist, like I said, and he's one of these guys, the Jews are against the whites, they're attacking the whites. And it's like, bro, like, okay, so let me get this straight. You're the superior white man. You built every civilization according to him. You built everything. You're the foundation of all civilization. And you're just so superior and just so much better than everybody on the planet, bro. Just inherently, you just popped out the womb. You know what I'm saying? Thundercats, just lifting the sword up. You're the best. But, like, you getting bitched by the Jews? According to them, this is the narrative. You're getting bitched by the Jews. But yet and still, you built the world. You're the civilization builders. You are the best. But the Jews somehow have bitched you and are now controlling everything. And they're attacking you. And they're like 1%. They're 1%. They're 1% of the goddamn population, but they're just controlling everything. They're just this. Okay, so hold up. If that's the case, doesn't that mean they're the master race? Doesn't that mean the Jews are the best? If they're bitching you, you're the best, right? You say you're superior, you're the greatest. So if the Jews are able to overtake you, does that not mean they're the best now? Does that not mean they're the master race now? I mean, seriously. You literally will have Nick Fuentes, and I still got to do that video, sitting up talking to Candace Owens, talking about IQ differences and all this dumb shit. And, oh, yeah, the blacks, low IQ, yeah. But then when we get to the Ashkenazi Jews, and we're like, yeah, they got the highest IQ statistically. This is proven, whoop-de-whoop. And then, Nick Fuentes will sit up there and say, oh, well, that's embellished. They embellished the numbers. Well, let me get this straight. So when it's the blacks, the numbers are correct. They're low IQ. They're sub-Saharan inferior niggers. But when it comes to the Jews being the smartest race, quote-unquote race, now the numbers are fake. Now the numbers are embellished. You see how they pick and choose what they want to believe? And this is why there's really no reason to really engage these goofies besides just debunking the dumb shit and just keeping it pushing, because it's like you can't really sit up and really argue with these idiots, man, because they live in a delusional world, right? There doesn't have to be any facts to it or any evidence. Even if the numbers are against them and the stats are against them, they'll just say it's fake. They'll just say it's embellished. So when the Ashkenazi Jews have the highest IQs, now the numbers are fake. Now the numbers are embellished, right? The numbers are embellished. The numbers are fake. They're not real. They embellish the numbers. You have to understand. They embellish them. It's the agenda against the white man. Okay, well then, bro, why can't we say the same for blacks? I mean, it's clear the onslaught against the black community, whether they want to deny it or not. So, is those numbers embellished? Then it's factual. Then the numbers are real. Only when the numbers are diminishing black people are the numbers accurate. But when the numbers are not in their favor, it's embellished, it's fake. Okay. So we know that facts is not really what this is about. Like I've said, this is all cope. This is all this shit is. This all this shit is. And the funny thing with the We Was Kang shit is, You know, there are instances where you do have some so-called black people running around and they may like misrepresent some shit. Like, for example, you'll have some goofy ninjas running around saying, you know, Romans were black, and you know they'll show some shit, and I'm looking at the shit they're showing, and they're showing images, and they're showing like historical record of shit, historical records of shit, and I'm like, okay, what you're actually showing is the Etruscans, right? So the people that were in that region before Esau got there, you know, they were, you know, quote unquote, would be considered black. Those were the, you know, the original people of that region, the Japhetic people of that land. The original people of Europe are of Japheth, and they, you know, would be considered black or whatever. You know, the original people of Europe who were in that region were of quote unquote Asians who were Japheth, right? There's a lot of stuff with, you know, Asians and what's happened to them, and you know why they look different and shit now. You know, that's a whole nother video. But you know, the original people of that land were of Japhetic descent, will be considered black, darker skinned people. And the Etruscans who were in that region of Italy before Esau got there, they were of Japhetic descent, right? But you know, you'll have some black people who look at that, oh, the Romans were black. No, those were the people before the Romans, right? Before Esau got there, right? You know, before, you know, Esau's grandson Zepho went into Europe, and you know they set up base in Italy first, and then, you know, spread out later and all the stuff there, right? A whole nother video, right? But those people were before Rome. They were before the Romans, right? The Romans are Edom. They are white. This is a historical fact, cannot be denied. But the people before in that particular region, the Etruscans, yes, they would be considered quote unquote black, right? But you know, you'll see some shit like that, and they'll be like, "Oh, we was kings." You know, you can say some shit there like, "Oh yeah, we was kings." You know, LMAO, laughing my ass off, right? Okay, cool. But when it comes to actual historical records, when it comes to actual black civilizations, these guys will just completely just ignore the shit. They will deny the record. They will just run around and screaming, you know, we was kings, and they never built anything. You know, they never built anything. There's no history. They were just crawling on the ground, like I said, making donkey noises or some shit. This is their living in clay huts. This is his rendition of history. And it's like, bruh, like, I mean, like I said, having the AI, this shit, it can only go so far. You know, we've reached critical mass of this shit, bro. It can no longer be, you really can't do this shit in the face of intellects anymore, right? You can't really do this anymore. Like, when you have the stats, when it's so easily accessible, it's kind of impossible to do it. You know, it's just an echo chamber, man. And, yeah, bro, you know, the funny thing is, this guy, if you look at his channel, you go watch one of his videos, Chronicles, this dude's, he's, I think he's British, right? Sometimes I get Australians and the British accent mixed up. You know, there's a clear distinction. You can kind of tell. Sometimes I can tell, like, oh, that dude's Australian. But this guy, I think he's British, right? So it's like, you got a British guy making these goofy videos. And a lot of times, this We Was King shit was made in America, and it's really pertaining to black Americans, right? You really don't have any quote-unquote Africans, you know, black Africans making these goofy videos, you know, even if they do some We Was King stuff, we wasery. It's not really Africans doing this shit. So, like, even when they run around talking about sub-Saharan African, it's like, bro, that's not the people doing that shit. You know, I don't even know why they're focusing on that all the time. Well, I know why, but you know, they'll do that shit, right? But it's like, this dude is British, and it's like, bruh, like, you know, the brain rot of American racism, bro, it is amazing to me, because it's exported to so many places. You know, of course, it's not to say that, like, there's not racism in Europe, of course, but America, for the most part, I would say, is the most racist country on the planet. So, you know, like, these clowns in this country, they export all this dumb shit. They export all of this retardation. And it's like, it's just low IQ babble, bro. It's like, you know, you got a British guy sitting up making videos talking about, you know, we was civilizations and trying to debunk black achievement. And it's like, even if we're looking at America in and of itself, you got all the inventions that black people have made in this country. You know, documented, historically patented shit. And that's not even factoring in the shit that were stolen inventions that we know were being stolen during fucking Jim Crow, with how racist these motherfuckers are. You know there were white motherfuckers stealing inventions from blacks, using the patent system to basically claim something they didn't even do. But even despite that, we have tons of patented that were able to be patented. They were able to avoid any type of fucking fraud. And we got the inventions. We see the history. We got the records of black advancement, black achievement. We got, even during slavery, they always were, oh, you were just picking cotton. No. Niggas was just not picking cotton. Black people were just not picking cotton in slavery. You had black people who were building shit. You had black carpenters. A lot of the shit you see with the plantations and a lot of that shit, those were made by black slaves who were skilled in trades and carpentry and whatnot. They weren't just running around picking cotton and sleeping in shacks. It's just like the historical inaccuracies and retardation of these people is just amazing. But a majority of these people, man, these white individuals like Chronicles and others of his ilk, they're really just stupid. Like I said, this is why they do this shit. They cope so much because they really don't have anything. They're not really high IQ. They're not really intelligent. They really can't build nothing. They're not really industrious. So this is how they cope. And it's like, bro, they just don't know anything. I really come to really realize they don't know any history like that for real. It's just this made up fan fiction Marvel shit of we the best, we built everything. We the greatest. And it's like, bruh, Benjamin Banneker, who designed Washington, D.C. These are historical shit we can show. Even if we want to just say, oh, the blacks never built a civilization, we could even go with that. We have shit in America showing the intellect of the so-called blacks, of creating shit, of designing shit, the inventions, the countless inventions. And it's like, bro, it's so easily debunked. We see the advancement. We can debunk this shit with ease. And you got a British guy sitting up here making these goofy videos. And it's like, bro, y'all country is having issues, bro. I've looked into the geopolitics of a lot of these other countries. Bro, the UK is motherfuckers over there crashing out right now because the economy's fucked. You got all types of weird shit going on. And instead of focusing on your system that's fucking crumbling, you're making videos talking about the blacks being inferior, never building anything, right? That's what they want. That's basically what is implied from these videos, is that, we was kings. They didn't build anything. We was civilizations is basically, they didn't build civilizations. They didn't build anything. They never built nothing. So you taking time to worry about what the blacks are saying instead of worrying about your crumbling fucking country. You're taking the time to focus on really what is being mainly, even if we want to look at that we was king stuff, like I said, black Americans, are kind of the people pushing some of that stuff. So you're worrying about people in a whole nother country saying shit online that you think is false instead of worrying about your fleeting country with the fleeting economy and shit fucked up. You're worried about the blacks. And this goes back all the way to black fatigue and the dumb shit that it's they're so focused on black people. Just, it does not matter what the situation is. And I'm kind of segueing off the main topic of this video, but it's just they're constantly obsessed with blacks, bro. It's the craziest shit to see. These people are insane. Everything's fucking up. The economy's fucked up. Just all this shit. People crashing out globally, bro. You got shit fucked up. And instead of focusing on all the problems within the country as a whole, you focus on the blacks and what the blacks got going on. And you looking at them and you trying to blame them for this and that. And oh, man, the blacks are... It's bruh. So you just not going to focus on the fact that your country's in shambles? We not going to focus on the economy? We just going to focus on the blacks. Okay. I see. It's complete insanity, bro. It is complete insanity, bro. I'm telling y'all, bro. It is complete insanity. And it's so funny, bro. One last thing. I'm about to end this video. One last thing, on this topic is that with everything that's going on, right? And I'm probably gonna make a separate video on something. I saw some funny meme a couple of days ago where it was like, oh, the French government, whenever the government does something they don't like, and it's like they're showing, it's like a video of like shit crashing out in the background and shit blowing up and shit. And it kind of made me laugh because I'm like, when we look at America in particular, these white Americans, right? We live in the most racist country on the planet, America. And they so focused on the blacks, black fatigue, all this dumb shit. And it's like the government's fucking everything up, bro. They're like America is like on the decline right now, bro. And it really needs to be some recalibration going on, bro. It needs to be like some introspection, bro. It needs to be some serious things that need to be addressed when it comes to the people in control. But instead of focusing on that, we worried about the blacks, right? Instead of focusing on all the problems in this country, we're focused on the blacks. We got people in the UK, this guy, Chronicles, making videos about the blacks and what they didn't do. It's like, bruh, how about what your government didn't do? How about what's going on with that? And back to America, how about we focus on the economy and the government fucking shit up? You know what I'm saying? Like, you talking about black fatigue while everything is crumbling and what the blacks got going on and trying to basically blame them for every fucking problem, bro. Every fucking problem, bro. And it's just hilarious, bro. Like, back to the French government shit. It's like, oh, the French government, the French people crash out. They crash out. You know what I'm saying? When the French government does something they don't like. It's like, well hey, man, you're laughing and you're making jokes about it, but like, white Americans, you're not gonna see them doing that. I don't think that there's gonna be a crash out on the government, bro. I really don't, because I think they're just gonna blame the blacks. They're just gonna keep doing this shit, bro. It's never gonna end. And the funny thing is, it's like, the French government, the French people, they'll crash out on their government. They'll crash all the way the fuck out. You know what I'm saying? Because, of course there's racism everywhere, but there's varying degrees. There's certain countries in Europe and shit are really not on that shit like that, because they don't have that historical bullshit going on with that racism shit. They just be chilling, bro. And that's why you can go to some of those countries and have a better fucking quality of life as a black American than you can in America, in every aspect, in every category. You'll have a better experience at doing all types of shit, because they don't have that same fucking insane ass fucking historical nonsense going on. And I think some of this shit is epigenetic, right? But that's a whole nother video. So it's like, the French people, they'll crash out on their government. Yeah, they'll crash out. But they're not gonna run around and say, black fatigue. Yeah. Instead of crashing out in their government, you know what I'm saying? The French people, would be sitting around screaming black fatigue and shit. No, they don't do that dumb shit. They will crash all the way the fuck out in their government, bro. Like, I've seen the protests they be doing over there. They be crashing out, bro. And it's even funny, too, because, like, you have these racist white Americans over here. Oh, the blacks, they're destroying property with the Black Lives Matter shit. I'm like, bro, the French people over there, they crash out way worse, bro. They be crashing out, bro, destroying property. But you notice they don't say nothing about that because they're white, right? So they don't, you know what I'm saying? It's just all propaganda. It's all dumb shit, bro. But, yeah, man, the French people, they'll crash out. But these other idiots, they'll just blame immigrants, blame the blacks, blame all this shit, bro. And some stuff with Europe, there is some problems you could say with immigration, some things there, but for the most part, it's an entire systemic issue, man. These people refuse to address this shit, bro. They refuse, but they're gonna keep focusing on the blacks, though. This is what they're gonna do. So these goofy videos you see from guys like Chronicles, understand what that's about. Understand that is about trying to feel better than the blacks, trying to be like, oh, I'm superior, I'm better. It's a coping mechanism. It's a way to feel better about themselves, because they have an inferiority complex, right? So they do this dumbass shit. They run around and they make these goofy videos, we was kings and trying to mock the blacks, and it's really embarrassing, bro. But this is what they're gonna do, bro. This is what they're gonna do. But my next video after this, I don't know. I want to address something actually that's similar to this, when it comes to some video I saw from some Asian dude, bro. And the shit was so embarrassing, bro. I got a real question in that video, bruh. Like real shit. For Asians, right? That's gonna be a very deep video there. But you know, when it comes to these white nationalists, bro, they're gonna keep doing this dumb shit. You know, this fan fiction. You know, Sultanian Chronicles, his channel is really just the Marvel universe for white supremacy. That's what it is, bro, in a nutshell. But hey, man, you know, we was Vikings and shit though, right? Whatever. That's all I gotta say for this video, man. I'm out.